Alice in Wonderland. We open in Alice's home. Lewis Carroll is discovered playing chess. Golden-haired Alice, in a little blue dress, a black kitten in her arms, stands watching him.
That's a funny game, Uncle. What do you do then?
A red pawn took a white pawn. This way. You see, Alice, the chessboard is divided into 64 squares, red and white, and the white army tries to win, and the red army tries to win. It's rather like a battle.
With soldiers?
Yes. Here are the kings and queens you're fighting for. That's the red queen. Here's the white queen.
Oh, how funny they look.
See the crowns on their heads, and look at their big feet.
It's a foot apiece, that's what it is. Do they hump along like this?
Yeah, you're spoiling the game. I must keep them all in the right squares.
I want to be a queen.
Well, here you are, Alice. Here you are in your little stiff skirt.
Oh, how do you do, Alice?
And now you're going to move here.
Oh, let me move myself.
When you have traveled all along the board this way and haven't been taken by the enemy, then you may be a queen.
Why do people always play with kings and queens? Mother has them in her playing cards too. Look.
Alice goes to the mantel and takes a pack of playing cards from the ledge.
Here's the red king of hearts, and here's his wife. She's the queen of hearts. Isn't she cross-looking, like she wants to bite someone's head off?
Carol moves a pawn.
You're playing against yourself, aren't you?
That's one way of keeping in practice, Alice. I have friends at the university who want to beat me.
But if you play against yourself, I should think you'd want to cheat.
Does a nice little girl like you cheat when she plays against herself?
Oh, I never do. I'd scold myself hard. I always pretend I'm two people too. It's lots of fun, isn't it? Sometimes when I'm all alone, I walk up to the looking glass and I talk to the other Alice. She's so silly, that Alice. She can't do anything by herself. She just mocks me all the time. When I laugh, she laughs. And when I point my finger at her, she points hers at me. And when I stick my tongue out at her, she sticks her tongue back at me too. And Kitty has a twin too, haven't you, darling?
Alice goes to the mirror to show Kitty her twin.
I'll have to write a book about Alice one day. Alice in Wonderland, child of pure, unclouded brow and dreaming eye of wonder. Or Alice through the looking glass.
Don't you wish that sometimes you could go through the looking glass house too? See?
Alice stands on an armchair and looks into the mirror.
There's the room you can see through the glass. It's just the same as our living room here, only the things go the other way. I can see all of it, all but just behind the fireplace. Oh, I do wish that I could see that bit. I just want so much to know if they've a fire there. You never can tell, you know, unless our fire smokes. Then smoke comes up from that room too, but that may just make it look as if they had a fire, just to pretend that they had. The books are something like our books, only the words go the wrong way. Won't there ever be a way of our getting through, Uncle?
Do you think Kitty would find looking glass milk digestible?
It doesn't sound awfully good, does it? I might have to leave her at home. She's been into an awful lot of mischief today. She found Sister's knitting and chased the ball all over the garden where Sister was playing croquet with the neighbours. And I ran and ran after the naughty little thing until I was all out of breath and so tired. I am so very tired.
Carol places the playing cards on the mantel and consults his watch.
I'll take a nap. Yes, you have time before tea.
We're going to have mock turtle soup for dinner, only Mama told the cook not to pepper it too much.
What a funny little rabbit it is, nibbling all the time.
He leans gently over the back of her chair and, seeing that she is going to sleep, puts out the lamplight and leaves the room. The red chess queen and the white chess queen appear in the mirror.
There she is. Let's call her over.
Do you think she'll come?
I'll call softly. Alice!
Hist! Alice!
Alice!
Hush! If she wakes and catches us. Alice, come through into the looking glass.
Their hands beckon her. The queens disappear. Alice climbs from the arm of the chair, the back of another, and so on up until the mantel ledge, where she picks her way daintily between the vases.
I don't know how I can get through. I've tried before, but the glass was hard. I was afraid of cutting my fingers.
She feels the glass.
Why, it's soft like gauze. It's turning into a sort of mist. Why, it's easy to get through. I'm going through.
She disappears. Alice comes through the looking glass, steps down, looks about in wonderment, and goes to see if there is a fire. The Red Queen rises out of the grate and faces her haughtily.
Why, you're the Red Queen.
Of course I am. Where do you come from and where are you going? Look up, speak nicely, don't twiddle your fingers.
I only wanted to see what the looking glass was like. Perhaps I've lost my way.
I don't know what you mean by your way. All the ways around here belong to me. Curtsy while you're thinking what to say. It saves time.
I'll try that when I go home, the next time I'm a little late for dinner.
It's time for you to answer now. Open your mouth a little wider when you speak and always say, Your Majesty. I suppose you don't want to lose your name?
No, indeed.
And yet I don't know. Only think of how convenient it would be if you could manage to go home without it. For instance, if the governess wanted to call you to your lessons, she would call out, Come here, and there she would have to leave off, because there wouldn't be any name for her to call. And of course you wouldn't have to go, you know.
Oh, that would never do, I'm sure. The governess would never think of excusing me from lessons for that. If she couldn't remember my name, she'd call me Miss.
Well, if she said miss and you didn't say and didn't say anything more, of course you'd miss your lessons. I dare say you can't even read this book.
It's all in some sort of language I don't know. Why, it's a looking glass book, of course, and if I hold it up to the glass, the words will go the right way around. Jabberwocky, 'twas brillig, and the slithy toves did gyre and gimble in the wab. All mimsy were the borogroves, and the mom rats out grab. It seems very pretty, but it's rather hard to understand. Somehow it fills my head with ideas, only I don't know quite what they are.
I dare say you don't know your geography either. Look at the map.
She takes a right-angle course to the drapes and points to them with her scepter.
Well, it's marked out just like a big chessboard. I wouldn't mind being a pawn, though of course I should like to be a Red Queen best.
That's easily managed. When you get to the 8th square, you'll be a queen. It's a huge game of chess that's being played all over the world. Come on, we've got to run. Faster, don't try to talk.
I can't.
Faster, faster.
Are we nearly there?
Nearly there. Why, we passed it 10 minutes ago. Faster. You may rest a little now.
Why, I do believe we're in the same place. Everything's just as it was.
Of course it is. What would you have it?
Well, in our country, you generally get to somewhere else if you ran very fast for a long time, as we've been doing.
A slow sort of country. Now here, you see, it takes all the running you can do to keep in the same place. If you want to get somewhere else, you must run at least twice as fast as that.
I'd rather not try, please. I'm quite content to stay here. Only I am so hot and thirsty.
I know what you'd like.
She takes a little box out of her pocket.
Have a biscuit.
Alice curtsies as she takes the biscuit and chokes.
While you're refreshing yourself, I'll just take some measurements.
She takes a ribbon out of her pocket and measures the map with it.
At the end of 2 yards, I shall give you your directions. Have another biscuit?
Oh, no thank you. One was quite enough.
Thirst quenched, I hope? At the end of 3 yards, I shall repeat them, for fear of you forgetting them. At the end of 4, I shall say goodbye. At the end of 5, I shall go. That square belongs to Humpty Dumpty, and that square to the Griffin and Mock Turtle, and that square to the Queen of Hearts. Would you make no remark?
I didn't know I was to make one just then.
You should have said it's extremely kind of you to tell me all this. However, we'll suppose it's said. 4, goodbye. 5.
The Red Queen vanishes in a gust of wind behind the drapes. The White Rabbit comes out of the fireplace and walks about the room hurriedly.
Oh, the Duchess! Oh, won't she be savage if I've kept her waiting?
I've never seen a rabbit with a waistcoat and a watch, and a waistcoat pocket. If you please, sir.
Oh!
He drops a fan and gloves in fright and dashes out by the way of the drapes in a gust of wind. Alice picks up the fan and playfully puts on the gloves. The drapes flap in the breeze, and a shawl flies in. Alice catches the shawl and looks about for the owner. The White Queen appears. The White Queen runs in wildly, both arms stretched out wide as if she were flying.
Bread and butter, bread and butter.
Am I addressing the White Queen?
Well, yes, if you call that addressing. It isn't my notion of the thing at all.
If your Majesty will only tell me the right way to begin, I'll do it as best I can.
But I don't want it done at all. I've been addressing myself for the last 2 hours.
Well, every single thing's crooked, and you're all over pins. May I put your shawl straight for you?
I don't know what's the matter with it. It's out of temper. I pin it here, I pin it there, but there's no pleasing it.
Well, it can't go straight, you know, if all the pins are on one side. And dear me, what a state your hair is in.
I lost the comb yesterday.
Alice takes out the brush and arranges the Queen's hair.
There, you look better now, although you really should get a lady's maid.
I'm sure I'll take you with pleasure. 2 pence a week and jam every other day.
I don't want you to hire me, and I don't care for jam.
It's very good jam.
Well, I don't want any today, at any rate.
Oh, you can have it today even if you did want it. The rule is jam tomorrow and jam yesterday, but never jam today.
Well, it must come sometimes to jam today.
No, it can't. It's jam every other day. Today isn't any other day, you know?
I don't understand you. It's dreadfully confusing.
That's the effect of living backwards. It always makes one a little giddy at first.
Living backwards? I never heard of such a thing.
But there's one great advantage in it, that one's memory works both ways.
I'm sure mine only works one way. I can't remember things before they've happened.
It's a poor sort of memory that only works backwards.
Well, what sort of things do you remember best?
Things that happen the week after next. For instance, now.
She sticks a large piece of plaster on her finger.
There's the king's messenger. He's in prison being punished, and the trial doesn't even begin until next Wednesday. And of course, the crime comes last of all.
Suppose he never commits the crime.
Bind the plaster with ribbon.
That would be all the better, wouldn't it?
Well, of course it would be all the better, but it wouldn't be all the better his being punished.
You're wrong there. At any rate, were you ever punished?
Only for faults.
And you were all the better for it. I know.
Yes, but then I had done the things I was punished for. That makes all the difference.
But if you hadn't done them, that would have been better still. Better and better and better.
There's a mistake somewhere.
The White Queen screams like an engine whistle and shakes her hand.
My finger's bleeding. Oh,
What is the matter? Have you pricked your finger?
I haven't pricked it yet, but I soon shall. Oh,
Well, when do you expect to do it?
when I fasten my shawl again, the brooch will come undone directly. Oh, oh.
The brooch flies open, and she clutches it wildly.
Oh, take care! You're holding it all crooked.
The White Queen pricks her finger and smiles.
Oh, that accounts for the bleeding, you see. Now you understand the way things work around here.
But why don't you scream now?
I've done all the screaming already. What would be the good of having it all over again? Oh, it's time to run if you want to stay in the same place. Come on.
No, not so fast. I'm getting dizzy.
Faster, faster,
Oh, everything's black before my eyes.
faster, faster.
No, I can't. Please stop.
You can't stay in the same place. I'll have to drop you behind. Faster, faster. Goodbye.
Alice has been dropped behind by the White Queen and is dazed to find herself in a strange hall with many peculiar doors and knobs too high to reach.
Oh, my head. Oh, where am I? Oh, dear, oh, dear.
She staggers up and, to her amazement, finds herself smaller than the table.
I've never been smaller than any table before. I've always been able to reach the knobs. What a curious feeling. Oh, I'm shrinking. Oh, it's the fan and the gloves.
She throws them away, feels her head, and measures herself against the table and doors.
Oh, saved in time. But I never.
Oh, my fan and gloves! Where are my...
Oh, Mr. Rabbit, please help me out. I want to go home.
Oh, the Duchess! Oh, my fur and whiskers! She'll get me executed! As sure as ferrets are ferrets! Oh, you have them!
I'm sorry. You dropped them, you know.
He picks up the fan and gloves and patters off.
She'll chop off your head!
If you please, sir, where am I? Won't you please tell me how to get out? I want to get out.
Looking at his watch,
Oh, my ears and whiskers! How late it's getting!
a trapdoor gives way and Rabbit disappears. Alice dashes after only in time to have a trapdoor bang in her face.
It's a rabbit hole, and I'm just small enough to fit in, too. If I shrink any more, it might end in my going out altogether, like a candle. I wonder what it would be like then. What does the flame of a candle look like after the candles are blown out? I've never seen such a thing.
Humpty Dumpty appears, sitting on a wall.
Don't stand there chattering to yourself like that, but tell me your name and your business.
My name is Alice, but
It's a stupid name enough. What does it mean?
must a name mean something?
Of course it must. My name means the shape I am, and a good, handsome shape it is, too. With a name like yours, you might be any shape almost.
You're Humpty Dumpty, just like an egg.
It's very provoking to be called an egg. Very.
I said you looked like an egg, sir, and some eggs are very pretty, you know.
Some people have no more sense than a baby.
Why do you sit here all alone?
Why, because there's nobody with me. Did you think I didn't know the answer to that? Ask another.
Don't you think you'd be safer on the ground? That wall's so very narrow.
What tremendously easy riddles you ask. Of course I don't think so. Take a good look at me. I'm one that has spoken to a king, I am. And to show you I'm not proud, you may shake hands with me.
He leans forward to offer Alice his hand, but she is too small to reach it.
However, this conversation is going on a little too fast. Let's go back to the last remark but one.
I'm afraid I can't remember it.
In that case, we start fresh, and it's my turn to choose a subject.
You talk about it as if it were a game.
So here's a question for you. How old did you say you were?
7 years and 6 months.
Wrong! You never said a word about it. Now, if you'd asked my advice, I'd have said leave off at 7. But
I never ask advice about growing.
too proud.
What a beautiful belt you've got on. At least, a beautiful cravat, I should have said. No, a belt. I beg your pardon. If only I knew which was neck and which was waist.
It is a most provoking thing when a person doesn't know a cravat from a belt.
I know, it's very ignorant of me.
It is a cravat, child, and a beautiful one, as you say. There's glory for you.
I don't know what you mean by glory.
When I use a word, it means just what I choose it to mean, neither more nor less.
The question is whether you can make words mean different things.
The question is which is to be master, that's all. Impenetrability, that's what I say.
Would you tell me, please, what that means?
I meant by impenetrability that we've had enough of that subject, and it would be just as well if you'd mention what you mean to do next, as I suppose you don't mean to stop here all the rest of your life?
That's a great deal to make one word mean.
When I make a word do a lot of work like that, I always pay it extra.
Oh.
You should see 'em come round me of a Saturday night for to get their wages, you know. That's all. Goodbye.
Goodbye, until we meet again.
I shouldn't know you again, darling, if we did meet. You're so exactly like other people.
The face is what one goes by generally.
And that's just what I complain of. Your face is the same as everybody has. The 2 eyes, so nose in the middle and the mouth under. It's always the same. Now, if you had the 2 eyes on the same side of the nose, for instance, or the mouth at the top, that would be some help.
It wouldn't look very nice.
Yes, well, wait till you've tried. Goodbye.
He disappears.
I forgot to ask him how to...
She tries to open the doors. They are all locked. She begins to weep. She walks weeping to a high glass table and sits down on its lower ledge. She sits on a big golden key and picks it up in surprise. She tries it on all the doors, but it does not fit. She weeps and weeps. Wonderland grows dark to her in her despair.
Oh, I'm slipping! Oh, it's a lake! My tears, I'm floating!
A mysterious light shows a drink me sign around a bottle on the top of the table. Alice floats up to it panting, and holding it onto the edge of the table, takes up the bottle.
It isn't marked poison.
She sips at it.
Oh, this is very good. It tastes like cherry tart, custard, pineapple, roast turkey and toffee, and buttered toast, all at once. Oh, I'm letting out like a telescope.
She grows taller.
But the lake is rising too. Oh, it's deep. I'm drowning. Help! Help! I'm drowning in my tears.
The griffin, a huge green creature with big glittering wings, appears where Humpty Dumpty had been, and reaches glittering claws over to grab and save Alice. The griffin flies Alice to a rocky shore. The mock turtle is weeping.
Drop your tears in the sea with his.
Oh, but he sobs as if he has a bone in his throat. He sighs as if his heart would break. What is his sorrow?
Oh, Griffin, it's terrible.
It's all his fancy that. Mark Turtle hasn't got no sorrow. This here young lady, she wants for to know your history, she do.
I'll tell it her. Sit down, both of you, and don't speak a word until I've finished.
I don't see how you can ever finish if you don't begin.
Once I was a real turtle.
There is a long silence.
When we were little, we went to school in the sea. The master was an old turtle. We used to call him Tortoise.
Why did you call him Tortoise if he wasn't one?
We called him Tortoise because he taught us. Really, you are very dull.
You ought to be ashamed of yourself for asking such a simple question. Drive on, old fellow. Don't be all day about it.
Yes, we went to school in the sea, though you mayn't believe it.
I never said I didn't.
You did.
Hold your tongue.
We had the best of educations. In fact, we went to school every day.
I've been to a day school too. You needn't be so proud as all that.
With extras?
Yes, we learned French and music.
And washing?
Oh, certainly not.
Ah, then yours wasn't a really good school. Now at ours, they had at the end of the bill French, music, and washing. Extra.
You couldn't have wanted it much, living at the bottom of the sea.
I couldn't afford to learn it. I only took the regular course.
And what was that?
Reeling and writhing, of course, to begin with, and then the different branches of arithmetic. Ambition, distraction, uglification, and derision.
I've never heard of uglification. What is it?
Never heard of uglifying. You know what to beautify is, I suppose.
Yes, it means to make anything prettier.
Well then, if you don't know what to uglify is, you are a simpleton.
What else had you to learn?
Well, there was mystery. Mystery ancient and modern, with seaography and drawing. The drawing master was an old conger eel that used to come over once a week. What he taught us was drawing, stretching, and painting in coils.
What was that like?
Well, I can't show it you myself. I am too stiff. And the griffin never learned it.
Hadn't time. I went to the classical master, though. He was an old crab. He was.
I never went to him. He taught laughing and grief, they used to say.
So he did, so he did.
And how many hours a day did you do lessons?
10 hours the first day, 9 the next, and so on.
What a curious plan.
That's the reason they've called lessons, because they lesson from day to day.
Then the 11th day must have been a holiday.
Of course it was.
And how did you manage on the 12th?
That's enough about lessons. Tell her something about the games now.
The mock turtle looks at Alice and tries to speak, but sobs choke his voice. The griffin punches him in the back.
Same as if he had a bone in his throat.
You may not have lived much under the sea,
I haven't.
and perhaps you were never even introduced to a lobster.
Oh, I tasted. Oh, no, never mind.
So you can have no idea what a delightful thing a lobster quadrille is.
No, indeed. What sort of dance is it?
Why, you first form into a line along the seashore.
2 lines, seals, turtles, salmon, and so on. Then, when you've cleared all the jellyfish out of the way,
That generally takes some time.
then you advance twice.
Each with a lobster as a partner.
Of course, advance twice, set 2 partners.
Change lobsters and retire in the same order.
Then you throw the,
The lobsters!
yeah, as far out to sea as you can.
Swim after them.
Turn a somersault in the sea.
Change lobsters again.
Back to land again, and that's all the first figure.
It must be a very pretty dance.
Would you like to see a little of it?
Oh, very much indeed.
Come, let's try the first figure. We can do it without lobsters, you know. Which shall sing?
Oh, you sing. I've forgotten the words.
While the turtle sings, creatures solemnly dance round and round. Alice is treading on her toes, waving 4 paws to mark time.
Will you walk a little faster, said a whiting to a snail. There's a porpoise close behind us, and he's treading on my tail. See how eagerly the lobsters and the turtles all advanced. They are waiting on the shingle. Will you come and join the dance? Will you, won't you, will you, won't you, will you join the dance? Will you, won't you, will you, won't you join the dance? You can really have no notion how delightful it will be when they take us up and throw us with the lobsters out to sea. But the snail replied too far, and gave a look askance. Said he thanked the whiting kindly, but he would not join the dance. Would not, could not, would not join the dance. Would not, could not, would not, could not, would not join the dance.
The creatures dance against Alice, pushing her back and forth between them. She protests and finally escapes. They bump against each other.
Thank you. It's a very interesting dance to watch, and I do so like that curious song about the whiting.
Oh, as to the whiting, you've seen them, of course?
Yes, I've often seen them at dinner.
I don't know where Din may be, but if you've seen them so often, of course you know what they're like.
I believe so. They have the tails in their mouths, and they're all over crumbs.
You're wrong about the crumbs. Crumbs would all wash off in the sea, but they have their tails in their mouth, and the reason is, tell her about the reason and all that.
The reason is that they would go with the lobsters to the dance. So they got thrown out to sea. So they had to fall a long way. So they got their tails fast in their mouths, so they couldn't get them out again, that's all.
Oh, thank you. It's very interesting. I never knew so much about the whiting before.
I can tell you more than that if you'd like. Do you know why it's called a whitening?
I never thought about it. Why?
It does the boats and shoes.
Does the boots and shoes?
Why, what are your shoes done with? I mean, what makes them so shiny?
They're done with blackening, I believe.
Boots and shoes under the sea are done with whitening, now you know.
And what are they made of?
Soles and eels, of course. Any shrimp could have told you that.
If I'd been the whiting, I'd have said to the porpoise, "Keep back, please, we don't want you with us."
They were obliged to have him with them. No wise fish would go anywhere without a porpoise.
Wouldn't it really?
Of course not. Why, if a fish came to me and told me he was going a journey, I should say, with what purpose?
Don't you mean purpose?
I mean what I say.
Shall we try another figure of the lobster quadrille? Or would you like the mock turtle to sing you a song?
Oh, a song, please, if the mock turtle would be so kind.
No accounting for taste. Sing her Turtle Soup, will you, old fellow?
Beautiful soup, so rich and green, waiting in a hot tureen. Who for such dainties would not stoop? Soup of the evening, beautiful soup. Soup of the evening, beautiful soup. Beautiful soup. Beautiful soup. Soup of the evening, beautiful, beautiful soup.
The White Rabbit enters, stretching out a red and white checkered sash, with which she separates Alice from the creatures.
Check!
They won't let her stay in our square.
The queen is coming this way!
You'll chop our heads off. Come on, let's fly.
The Mock Turtle and Griffin grab Alice and fly into the air.
You'll be safe in the March Hare's garden!
On a small platform, there is a tea table set with many cups. The March Hare, the Hatter, and the Dormouse are crowded at one end. Alice sits on the ground where she has been dropped from the sky. Finding herself not bruised, she rises and approaches the table.
No room!
No room!
There's plenty of room.
She sits in a large armchair at one end of the table.
I don't know who you are.
I am the March Hare. That's the Hatter. And this is the Dormouse. Have some wine?
I don't see any wine.
Well, there isn't any.
Then it wasn't very civil of you to offer it.
Well, it wasn't very civil of you to sit down without being invited.
I didn't know it was your table. It's laid for a great many more than just 3.
Your hair wants cutting.
You should learn not to make personal remarks. It's very rude.
Why is a raven like a writing desk?
Oh, we'll have some fun now. I'm glad you've begun asking riddles. I believe that I can guess that one.
So, you mean that you think you can find out the answer to it?
Exactly so.
Then you should say what you mean.
I do. At least I mean what I say. That's the same thing, you know.
Not the same thing a bit. Why, you might as well just say, I see what I eat is the same thing as I eat what I see.
You might just as well say that I like what I get is the same thing as I get what I like.
You might just as well say that I breathe when I sleep is the same thing as I sleep when I breathe.
It is the same thing with you.
The Mad Hatter takes out his watch, looks at it uneasily, shakes it, holds it to his ear.
What day of the month is it?
The 4th.
2 days wrong. I told you butter wouldn't suit the works.
Ah, it was the best butter.
Yes, but some crumbs must have got in it as well. You shouldn't have put it in with the bread knife.
The March Hare takes the watch, looks at it gloomily, dips it into his cup of tea, and looks at it again, but doesn't know what else to say.
Ah, it was the best butter.
What a funny watch. It tells the day of the month, but it doesn't tell what o'clock it is.
Why should it? Does your watch tell you what year it is?
Of course not, but that's because it stays the same year for such a long time together.
Which is just the case with mine.
I don't quite understand you. What you said had no sort of meaning in it, yet it was certainly English.
The Hatter pours some hot tea on the Dormouse's nose.
Dormouse is asleep again.
Of course. Just when I was going to remark myself.
Have you guessed the riddle yet?
No, I give it up. What's the answer?
I haven't the slightest idea.
Nor I.
I think you might do something better with your time than wasting it and asking riddles that have no answers.
If you knew time as well as I do, you wouldn't talk about wasting it. It's him.
I'm afraid I don't know what you mean.
Of course you don't. I dare say you never spoke to time.
Perhaps not, but I know I have to beat time when I learn music.
Ah, that accounts for it. He won't stand beating. Now, if you only kept on good terms with him, he'd do almost anything you'd liked with the clock. For instance, suppose it were 9 o'clock in the morning, just time to begin lessons. You'd only have to whisper a hint at time, and around goes the clock in a twinkling. 1:30, time for dinner.
I only wish it was.
That would be grand, certainly, but then I shouldn't be hungry for it, you know.
Not at first, perhaps, but you could keep it to 1:30 as long as you liked.
Is that the way that you manage?
Not I. We quarrelled last March, just before he went mad. You know, it was at the great concert given by the Queen of Hearts, and I had to sing. Twinkle, twinkle, little bat, how I wonder where you're at. You know the song, perhaps?
I've heard something like it.
Twinkle, twinkle, twinkle.
Well, I'd hardly finished the first verse when the Queen bawled out, "He's murdering time, off with his head!"
Oh, how dreadfully savage!
And ever since that, he won't do a thing I ask. It's always 6 o'clock now.
Is that the reason there's so many tea things laying about?
Yes, that's it. It's always tea time, and we've no time to wash in between whiles.
Then you keep moving round, I suppose.
Exactly so, as the things get used up.
But when you come back to the beginning again?
Yeah, suppose we change the subject. I brought the young lady to tell us a story.
I'm afraid I don't know one.
Then the Dormouse shall.
Oi! Wake up, Dormouse!
They pinch him on both sides at once. The Dormouse opens his eyes slowly.
I wasn't asleep. I heard every word you fellows were saying.
Tell us a story.
Oh, yes, please do.
And be quick about it or you'll be asleep again before it's done.
Once upon a time, there were 3 little sisters, and their names were Elsie, Lacey, and Tilly, and they lived at the bottom of a well.
What did they live on?
It was a syrup well. They lived in syrup.
They couldn't have done that, you know. They'd have been ill.
Oh, so they were very ill.
But why did they live at the bottom of a well?
Take some more tea.
I've had nothing yet, so I can't take more.
You mean you can't take less? It's very easy to take more than nothing.
Nobody asked your opinion.
Aye, who's making personal remarks now?
Alice helps herself to tea and bread and butter.
So why did they live at the bottom of a well?
It was a syrup well.
There's no such thing.
Shh. If you can't be simple, you better finish the story for yourself.
No, please go on. I won't interrupt you again. I dare say that there may be one.
One indeed. And so these three little sisters, they were learning to draw
What did they draw?
syrup.
I want a clean cup. Let's all move one place on.
The Hatter moves on. The Dormouse takes his place. The March Hare takes the Dormouse's place, and Alice unwillingly takes the March Hare's place.
Worse off than I was before. You've upset the milk jug into your plate.
Well, it wasn't very civil of you to sit down without being invited.
Where did they draw the syrup from?
You can draw water out of a water well, so I should think you can draw syrup out of a syrup well, stupid?
But they were in the well.
Of course they were. Well, they were learning to draw, and they drew all manner of things. Everything that begins with an M.
Why with an M?
Or why not?
Alice is silent and confused. Hatter pinches the Dormouse to wake him up. The Dormouse wakes with a little shriek and continues.
Begins with an M, such as mousetraps and the moon and memory and muchness. You know you say things are much of the muchness. Did you ever see such a thing as a drawing of the muchness?
Did you?
Oh, really? Now you ask me. I don't think that...
Then you shouldn't talk.
No.
Alice rises and walks away.
You are very rude. It's the stupidest tea party I was at in all my life.
The White Rabbit enters, carrying a huge envelope with a seal and a crown on it.
No room.
No room.
The rabbit pays no attention to them, but goes to the house and raps loudly. A footman opens the door.
For the Duchess, an invitation from the Queen to play croquet.
What? From the Queen, an invitation for the Duchess to play croquet.
The White Rabbit bows and goes out.
No room.
No room.
No room.
The frog disappears into the house, but leaves the door open. There's a terrible sound, and many saucepans fly out.
She's at it again.
Perfectly disgusting.
Let's move on.
The March Hare, the Hatter, and the Dormouse go back to their tea. Meanwhile, the frog has come out and is sitting near the closed door, staring stupidly at the sky. Alice goes to the door timidly and knocks.
There's no sort of use in knocking, and that for two reasons. First, because I'm on the same side of the door as you are. Secondly, because they're making such a noise inside, no one could possibly hear you.
Please then, how am I to get in?
There might be some sense in your knocking if we had the door between us. For instance, if you were inside, you might knock and I could let you out, you know.
But how am I to get in?
I shall sit here till tomorrow.
The door opens and a large plate skims out straight at the frog's head. It grazes his nose and breaks into pieces. The frog acts as if nothing had happened.
Or the next day, maybe.
Oh, how am I to get in?
Are you to get in at all? That is the first question, you know.
It's really dreadful the way all you creatures argue. It's enough to drive one crazy.
I shall sit here on and off for days and days.
But what am I to do?
Anything you'd like.
He begins to whistle.
Where's the servant whose business it is to answer the door?
Which door?
This door, of course.
The frog looks at the door and rubs his thumb on it to see if the paint will come off.
To answer the door, what's it been asking for?
I'm sure I don't know what you mean.
I speak English, doesn't I? Or are you deaf? What did I just ask you?
Nothing, I've just been knocking at it.
Shouldn't do that. Vexes it, you know.
He kicks the door.
You let it alone, it'll let you alone, you know.
Oh, there's no use talking to you.
She starts to open the door just as the Duchess comes out carrying a pig in baby's clothes.
She minded her own business.
It's Pepper.
Of course, my cook put it in the soup.
There's certainly too much pepper in the soup.
Sneeze then and get rid of it.
The Duchess begins to sing to the baby, giving it a violent shake at the end of every line of the lullaby.
Speak roughly to your little boy and beat him when he sneezes. He only does it to annoy because he knows it teases. I speak severely to my boy. I beat him when he sneezes. For he can thoroughly enjoy the pepper when he pleases.
Oh dear.
She jumps aside as kettles and pots come flying out the door. The Duchess pays no attention.
What a cook to have.
She calls inside.
Oh, please mind what you're doing.
Another pan comes out and almost hits the baby.
Oh, there goes his precious nose.
If everybody minded her own business, the world would go round a deal faster than it does.
Which would not be an advantage. Just think what work it would make with the day and the night. You see, the Earth takes 24 hours to go round on its axis, and...
Talking of axes, chop off her head!
The head of a grinning Cheshire cat appears in a tree above a wall.
What's that?
Cat, of course.
But why does it grin like that?
It's a Cheshire cat, that's why. Pig!
I didn't know that Cheshire cats always grinned. In fact, I didn't know that cats could grin.
They all can, and most of them do.
I don't know of any that do.
You don't know much, and that's a fact. Here, you may nurse it a bit if you like.
The Duchess flings the baby at Alice.
I must go and get ready to play croquet with the Queen.
She goes into the house.
If I don't take this child away with me, they're sure to kill it in a day or two. Oh, Chesopus, would you please tell me which way I ought to walk from here?
That depends a good deal on where you want to get to.
I don't much care where.
Then it doesn't matter which way you walk.
So long as I get somewhere.
Oh, you're sure to do that if you only walk long enough.
Please, will you tell me what sort of people live about here?
Oh, mad people.
But I don't know. I don't want to go among mad people.
Oh, can't help that. We're all mad here. I'm mad. She's mad. He's dreaming now. And what do you suppose he's dreaming about?
Alice goes to the frog to scrutinize his face.
Nobody could guess that.
Why, about you. And if he left off about you, where do you suppose you'd be?
Where I am right now, of course.
Oh, not you. You'd be nowhere. Why, you're only a sort of thing in his dream, and you're mad too.
How do you know that I'm mad?
Oh, you must be, or you wouldn't have come here.
How do you know that you're mad?
Oh, to begin with, a dog's not mad. You grant that?
I suppose so.
Well then. You see, a dog growls when it's angry and wags its tail when it's pleased. Now, I growl when I'm pleased and wag my tail when I'm angry. Therefore, I am mad. Oh, call it what you like. Do you play croquet with the Queen today?
I should like it very much, but I haven't been invited.
You'll see me there.
The cat vanishes. Alice looks at the squirming baby.
Oh dear, it's heavy and so ugly. Oh, it's a pig! Please, Mr. Footman, take it away!
The frog rises with dignity, whistles, and disappears into the house. A kettle comes bounding out. Alice puts down the pig, and it crawls off. The cat appears again.
Oh, by the by, what became of the baby?
It turned into a pig.
Oh, I thought it would.
The cat vanishes. The frog comes out of the house with hedgehogs and flamingos. The cat reappears.
Did you say pig or fig?
I said pig, and I wish you wouldn't keep appearing and vanishing so suddenly. You make one quite giddy.
All right.
The cat vanishes slowly. The frog puts flamingos down and re-enters the house. While Alice is examining the flamingos curiously, Tweedledum and Tweedledee, each with an arm around the other's neck, sidestep in and stand looking at Alice.
Tweedledee.
Dumb.
If you think we was waxworth, you ought to pay.
Contrary-wise, if you think we're alive, you ought to speak.
The first thing in a visit is to say, how do you do? And shake hands.
The brothers give each other a hug, then hold out the two hands that are free to shake hands with her. Alice does not like shaking hands with either of them first, for fear of hurting the other's feelings. She takes hold of both hands at once, and they all dance around in a ring.
Would you please tell me which road leads out of here?
What shall I repeat to her?
The walrus and the carpenter is the longest.
Tweedledum gives his brother an affectionate hug.
The sun was shining.
If it's very long, would you please tell me first which road?
The moon was shining sulkily.
The sea was wet as could be.
All oysters come and walk with us, the walrus did beseech.
A pleasant walk, a pleasant talk, along the briny beach.
The eldest oyster winked his eye and shook his heavy head.
Meaning to say he did not choose to leave the oyster bed.
But 4 young oysters hurried up, and yet another 4.
And thick and fast they came at last, and more and more and more.
The walrus and the carpenter walked on a mile or so.
And then they rested on a rock, conveniently low.
And all the little oysters stood and waited in a row.
A loaf of bread, the walrus said, is what we chiefly need.
Now if you're ready, oysters dear, we can begin to feed.
But not on us, the oysters cried, turning a little blue.
The night is fine, the walrus said. Do you admire the view?
The carpenter said nothing but, cut us another slice. I wish you were not quite so deaf. I've had to ask you twice.
It seems a shame, the walrus said, to play them such a trick, after we've thought they've ate so far and made them trot so quick.
Oh, oysters, said the carpenter, you've had a pleasant run.
Shall we be trotting home again?
But answer came there none.
And in this was scarcely odd because
they'd eaten every.
Tweedledee interrupts in a passion, pointing to a white rattle on the ground.
Do you see that?
It's only a rattle.
Tweedledum stamps wildly and tears his hair.
I knew it was. It spoilt, of course, my nice new rattle. Do you agree to have a battle?
He collects saucepans and pots. Tweedledee picks up a saucepan.
I suppose so. Let's fight till dinner.
They go out hand in hand.
I wonder what's going to happen next.
She backs away respectfully as the King and Queen of Hearts enter, followed by the Knave of Hearts and the White Rabbit. When they come opposite to Alice, they stop and look at her, while the Duchess comes out of the house.
Who
is this?
The knave bows 3 times.
Idiot! What's your name, child?
My name is Alice, so please, if your majesty.
Off with her head! Off with her head!
Nonsense!
Consider, my dear, that she is only a child.
Can you play croquet?
Yes.
Come on then, get to your places. Where are the mallets?
Here. The frog appears with the flamingos and hedgehogs.
Off with his head!
What fun!
What is the fun?
Why, it's all her fancy that. They never execute anyone.
What does one do?
Get to your places.
She takes a flamingo, uses its neck as a mallet, and the hedgehog as a ball. The frog doubles himself into an arch. The king does the same with the followers, and the knave offers himself as an arch for Alice. Even though Alice does not notice him, he holds the arch position.
Off with his head! Off with her head!
Where are the chess queens?
Under sentence of execution.
What for?
Did you say, what a pity?
No, I didn't. I don't think it's at all a pity. I said, what for?
Well, they boxed the queen's ears. Oh, hush, the queen will hear you. You see, they came rather late, and the queen said, oh dear, the queen hears me.
He hurries away. Alice notices the knave, who still pretends to be an arch.
How can you go on thinking so quietly with your head downwards?
What does it matter where my body happens to be? My mind goes on working just the same. The fact of it is, the more head downwards I am, the more I keep on inventing new things.
Did you happen to meet any soldiers, my dear, as you came through the wood?
Yes, I did. Several thousand, I should think.
4,207. That's the exact number. They couldn't send all the horses, you know, because 2 of them are wanted in the game. And I haven't sent the 2 messengers either.
What's the war about?
The Red Chess King has a whole army against us, but he can't kill a man who has 13 hearts.
The Duchess, Queen, Frog, and followers go out. The knave stands behind the king.
Now, just look along the road and tell me if you see either of my messengers.
I see nobody on the road.
Oh, I only wish I had such eyes to be able to see nobody, and at that distance too. Why, it's as much as I can do to see real people by this light.
Oh, I see somebody now, but he's coming very slowly. And what a curious attitude he goes into, skipping up and down and wriggling like an eel.
Not at all. Those are Anglo-Saxon attitudes. He only does them when he's happy. I must have 2 messengers, you know, to come and to go. 1 to come and 1 to go.
I beg your pardon.
Oh, it isn't respectable to beg.
I only meant that I didn't understand. Why 1 to come and 1 to go?
Don't I tell you? I must have 2 to fetch and carry. 1 to fetch and 1 to carry.
The March Hare enters, pants for breath.
Ooh! You alarm
Waves his
me!
hands.
You alarm me. I feel faint. Give me a ham sandwich. Another sandwich, quick!
Oh, there's nothing but hay left now.
Well, hay then. There's nothing like eating hay when you're faint.
I should think throwing cold water over you would be better.
Well, I didn't say there was nothing better. I said there was nothing like it. Now, who did you pass on the road?
Nobody.
Quite right, quite right. This young lady saw him too. So, of course, nobody walks slower than you.
I do my best. I'm sure nobody walks much faster than I do.
Well, he can't do that, you know, or else he'd have been here first. However, now you've got your breath, you may tell us what has happened in the town.
I'll whisper it.
They're at it again!
Ah! Do you call that a whisper? If you do such a thing again, I'll have you buttered. Went through my head like an earthquake. Give me details, quick!
The king and the March Hare go out. The Duchess runs in and tucks her arm affectionately into Alice's.
You can't think how glad I am to see you again, you dear old thing.
Hello.
You're thinking about something, my dear, and that makes you forget to talk. I can't tell you now just what the moral of that is, but I shall remember it in a bit.
Perhaps there hasn't one.
Tut, tut, child. Everything's got a moral, if only you can find it.
She squeezes closely, digs her chin into Alice's shoulder, and roughly drags Alice along for a walk.
The game's going on rather better now.
'Tis so, and the moral of that is, oh, 'tis love that makes the world go round.
Somebody said that it's done by everybody minding their own business.
Ah, well, it means much the same thing. And the moral of that is, take care of the senses and the sounds will take care of themselves.
How fond you are of finding morals in things.
I dare say you're wondering why I don't put my arm round your waist. The reason is that I'm doubtful about the temper of your flamingo. Shall I try the experiment?
He might bite.
Very true. Flamingos and mustards both bite, and the moral of that is, birds of a feather flock together.
Only a mustard isn't a bird.
Right, as usual. What a clear way you have of putting things.
It's a mineral, I think.
Of course it is. There's a large mustard mine near here, and the moral of that is, the more there is of mine, the less there is of yours.
Oh, I know. It's a vegetable. Only it doesn't look like one, but it is.
I quite agree with you. And the moral of that is, be what you would seem to be. Or, if you'd like to put it more simply, never imagine yourself not to be otherwise than what it might appear to others that what you were or might have been was not otherwise than what you have been would have appeared to them to be otherwise.
I think I should understand that better if I had it written down, but I can't quite follow it as you say it.
That's nothing to what I could say if I choose.
Pray, don't trouble yourself to say it any longer than that.
Oh, don't talk about trouble. I make you a present of everything I've said as yet. Thinking again.
I've got a right to think.
Just about as much right as pigs have to fly. And the moral.
The arm of the Duchess begins to tremble and her voice dies down. The Queen of Hearts stands before them with folded arms and frowning like a thunderstorm.
A fine day, Your Majesty.
Now I give you fair warning. Either you or your head must be off, and that in about half no time. Take your choice.
The Duchess goes meekly into the house.
Let's go on with the game.
She walks away.
Off with his head. Off with her head.
The cat reappears.
How are you getting on?
It's no use speaking to you till your ears have come. I don't think they play at all fairly, and they all quarrel so, and they don't seem to have any rules in particular. You've no idea how confusing it is with all the things alive. There's the arch I've got to go through next, walking about the other end of the ground. And I should have croqueted the Queen's hedgehog just now, only it ran away when it saw mine coming.
How do you like the Queen?
Not at all. She's just so extremely...
The king, queen, and the entire court enter. The Queen is near to Alice. They all look at Alice questioningly.
She's just so likely to win that it's hardly worthwhile finishing the game.
The queen smiles and passes on.
Who are you talking to?
Oh, it's a friend of mine, a Cheshire cat. Allow me to introduce it.
I don't like the look of it at all. However, it may kiss my hand if it likes.
I'd rather not.
Don't be impertinent, and don't look at me like that.
A cat may look at a king. I've read that in some book, but I don't remember where.
Well, it must be removed. My dear, I wish you would have this cat removed.
Off with his head!
But you can't cut off a head unless there's a body to cut it from.
Anything that has a head can be beheaded.
If something isn't done about it in less than no time, I'll have everybody executed. All round.
It belongs to the Duchess. You'd better ask her about it.
A lie!
You'd better ask me. Catch me if you can.
It grins away. The Duchess and the frog escape into the house.
Cut it off!
It's gone!
It's gone.
It went away.
Where did it go?
Cut it off! Cut them all off!
No! Please!
No.
Save me! Save me!
The knave gives Alice a tart for safety.
Take a tart.
The queen sees Alice stand out a moment from the others.
Cut hers off! Cut hers off!
Cut hers off.
Hers.
Oh, yes. Cut hers off.
Alice cries in fears and takes a quick bite at the tart
Save me! Save me!
and disappears.
We see a garden of high, very conventional and artificial looking flowers. On a large mushroom sits the caterpillar, smoking a hookah. Alice is whirling about, trying to get her equilibrium after her fall. She goes to the mushroom timidly and conscious of her size, for her chin reaches the top of the mushroom. She gazes at the caterpillar wonderingly.
Who are you?
I hardly know, sir, just at present. The Queen frightened me so, and I've just had an awful fall down a tunnel or a sort of well. At least I know who I was when I got up this morning, but I think I must have been changed several times since then.
What do you mean by that? Explain yourself.
I can't explain myself, I'm afraid, sir, because I'm not myself, you see. Being so many different sizes in a day is all very confusing.
You? Who are you?
I think you ought to tell me who you are first.
Why?
Alice turns away.
Come back. I've something important to say.
Alice comes back.
Keep your temper.
Oh, is that all?
No.
He puffs at the hookah in silence.
So, you think you've changed, do you?
I'm afraid I am, sir. I don't keep the same size.
And what size do you want to be?
I don't know. At least, I've never been so small as a caterpillar.
It is a very good height indeed.
But I'm not used to it. I wish you wouldn't all be so easily offended.
You'll get used to it in time.
Are you too big, or am I too small?
She compares her height wonderingly with the tall flowers. The caterpillar looks at her sleepily and crawls slowly away.
One size will make you grow taller, and the other side will make you grow shorter.
One side of what? And the other side of what?
Of the mushroom.
Alice hesitates, then embraces mushroom and picks bit from each side. 3 gardeners representing spades enter carrying brushes and red paint cans.
Now, 5, don't go splashing paint over me like that.
Couldn't help it. 7 jogged my elbow.
That's right. 5 always laid the blame on others.
Oh, you'd better not talk. I heard the Queen say only yesterday you deserved to be beheaded.
What for?
That is none of your business, too.
Oh, yes, it is his business, and I'll tell him. It was for bringing the tulip roots instead of onions.
Well, of all the unjust things.
Sees Alice, others look around, all bow.
I'm sorry, but could you please tell me which side to eat?
5 and 7 look at 2.
I don't know anything about it.
He paints a white rose red.
You ought to have been red. We put you in mistake. If the Queen was to find out, we should all have our heads cut off.
A thumping is heard.
What's that?
The white chess queen.
Don't let her see what we're doing.
She'll tell on us.
Run out and stop her from coming here.
Alice runs to the right.
No, the other way.
She's off there.
You can only meet her by walking the other way.
Oh, what nonsense.
Go the other way.
Alice dashes out to the left.
She's running away from me.
The White Queen backs in from the right and Alice backs in from the left. They meet. The gardeners cry and throw themselves flat upon the ground. Their backs are like the backs of the rest of the pack.
The Queen!
Oh, there you are. Why, I'm just the size I was when I last saw you.
Of course you are. And who are these? I can't tell them by their backs.
She turns them
Turn
over
over.
with her foot.
I thought so. Get up! What have you been doing here?
May it please your majesty, we were just trying to.
I see. Be gone, or I'll send the horses after you and tell the Queen of Hearts.
Gardeners rush off. The Red Queen enters. Alice has gone to the mushroom again to look at its sides, and there, to her amazement, finds a gold crown and scepter, which she immediately picks up. Alice puts on her crown and walks bowing right and left to the homage of the imaginary subjects.
Queen Alice!
Ridiculous!
Isn't this the 8th square?
You can't be a queen, you know, till you've passed the proper examination.
The sooner we begin it, the better.
Please, would you tell me...
Speak when you're spoken to.
But if everybody obeyed that rule, and if you only spoke when we're spoken to, and the other person always waited for you to begin, you see, nobody would ever say anything. So that must be...
Preposterous.
I only said if.
She says she only said if.
Oh, but she said a great deal more than that.
So you
so
did.
Much more than that.
So you did, you know. Always speak the truth. Think before you speak and write it down afterwards.
I'm sure I didn't mean.
That's just what I complained of. You should have met. What do you suppose is the use of a child without any meaning? Even a joke should have some meaning, and a child's more important than a joke, I hope. You couldn't deny that, even if you tried with both hands.
I don't deny things with my hands.
Nobody said you did. I said you couldn't if you tried.
She's in that state of mind where she wants to deny something. Only she doesn't know what to deny.
A nasty, vicious temper. I invite you to Alice's dinner party this afternoon.
And I invite you.
I didn't know I was to have a party at all. But if there's to be one, I think I ought to invite the guests.
We gave you the opportunity of doing it, but I dare say you're not had many lessons in manners yet.
Manners are not taught in lessons. Lessons teach you to do sums and things of that sort.
Well, can you do addition? What's 1 and 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 1?
I don't know. I've lost count.
She can't do addition. Can you do subtraction? Take 9 from 8.
9 from 8? I can't, you know, but
But she can't do subtraction. Can you do division? Divide a loaf by a knife. What's the answer to that?
I suppose that...
Bread and butter, of course. Try another subtraction sum. Take a bone from a dog. What remains?
The bone wouldn't remain, of course, if I took it, and the dog wouldn't remain. It would come back to bite me, and I'm sure I shouldn't remain.
Then you think nothing would remain?
I think that's the answer.
Wrong, as usual. The dog's temper would remain.
I don't see how that...
Why, look here. The dog would lose its temper, wouldn't it?
Perhaps so.
Then if the dog went away, its temper would remain.
They might go different ways. What dreadful nonsense we're talking.
She can't do sums a bit.
Can you do sums?
I can do addition, if you give me time, but I can't do subtraction under any circumstances.
Of course you know your ABCs.
To be sure, I do.
So do I. We'll often say it over together, dear. And I'll tell you a secret. I can read words of one letter. Isn't that grand? However, don't be discouraged. You'll come to it in time.
Can you answer useful questions? How is bread made?
Oh, I know that. You just take some flour and...
Well, where do you pick the flour? In the garden or in the hedges?
Well, it isn't picked at all. It's ground.
How many acres of ground? You mustn't leave out so many things.
Fan her head. She'll be feverish after so much thinking.
Oh, please stop. Please.
She's all right now. Do you know languages? What's French for fiddle-dee-dee?
Fiddle-dee-dee's not English.
Who ever said it was?
If you tell me what language fiddle-dee-dee is, I'll tell you the French for it.
Queens never make bargains.
And I wish queens never asked questions.
Don't let us quarrel. What is the cause of lightning?
The cause of lightning is the thunder... oh, no, I meant it the other way.
It's too late to correct it. Once you've said a thing, that fixes it. And you must take the consequences.
We had such a thunderstorm next Tuesday. You can't think.
She never could, you know.
Part of the roof came off, and ever so much thunder came in and were rolling around the room in great lumps and knocking over tables and things. So I was so frightened I couldn't even remember my own name.
I never should try to remember my name in the middle of an accident. Where would be the use of it?
You must excuse her. She means well, but she can't help saying foolish things as a general rule. She never was really well brought up, but it's amazing how good-tempered she is. Pat her on the head and see how pleased she'll be. A little kindness and putting her hair in papers would do wonders with her.
The White Queen leans her head on Alice's shoulder.
I am so sleepy.
She's tired, poor thing. Smooth her hair, lend her your nightcap, and sing a soothing lullaby.
I haven't got a nightcap with me, and I don't know any soothing lullabies.
I must do it myself, then. Hush-a-bye, lady, in Alice's lap. Till the feast ready, we've time for a nap. When the feast's over, we'll go to the ball. Red Queen and White Queen, and Alice and all. And now you know the words. Just sing it through to me. I'm getting sleepy too.
Both queens fall fast asleep and snore loudly.
Oh, what am I to do? take care of two queens asleep at once. Do wake up, you heavy things.
Do, do, do. The trial's beginning.
What trial is it?
Who stole the tarts?
I ate a tart.
You've got to be tried.
But I don't want to be tried.
You've got to be tried.
I won't be tried. I won't.
In a courtroom, the king and queen of hearts are seated on the throne. The knave is before them in chains. The white rabbit has a trumpet in one hand and a scroll of parchment in the other. In the middle of the court stands a table with a large dish of tarts upon it.
Silence in the court!
Alice watches the jurymen writing busily on their slates.
What are they doing? They can't have anything to put down yet, before the trial's even begun.
They're putting down their names for fear they should forget them before the end of the trial.
Stupid things.
Silence in the court!
The jury starts writing.
Stupid things. How do you spell stupid?
A nice muddle their slates will be in before the trial's over.
There's a pencil squeaking. Cut it down.
The jury writes.
Squeaking.
Harold, read the accusations.
The white rabbit unrolls a parchment scroll and...
The Queen of Hearts, she made some tarts all on a summer day. The Knave of Hearts, he stole those tarts and took them quite away.
Consider your verdict.
Not yet. There's a great deal to come before that.
Call the first witness.
First witness.
The Mad Hatter arrives with a teacup in one hand and a piece of bread and butter in the other.
I beg your pardon, Your Majesty, for bringing these in, but I hadn't quite finished my tea when I was sent for.
You ought to have finished. When did you begin?
The March Hare follows, arm in arm with the Dormouse.
14th of March, I think it was.
15th.
16th.
Write that down.
14, 15, 16, 45. Reduce that to shillings.
Now you there, take off your hat.
Oh, it isn't mine.
Stolen.
Stolen.
Oh, no, I keep them to sell. I have none of my own. I'm a hatter.
The queen puts on her spectacles and stares at Hatter, who fidgets uncomfortably.
Give your evidence and don't be nervous, or I'll have you executed on the spot.
The Hatter continues to shift nervously from one foot to the other and looks uneasily at the queen.
I'm a poor man, Your Majesty, and I haven't but just begun my tea, not above a week or so. And what with the bread and butter going so thin and the twinkling of the tea.
The twinkling of the what?
It began with the tea.
Well, of course twinkling begins with a T. Do you take me for a dunce? Go on.
I'm a poor man, and most things twinkled after that. Only the March Hare said...
But I didn't.
Oh, you did.
I deny it.
He denies it. Leave that part out.
But what about the Dormouse say?
Oh, that I can't remember.
You must remember, or I'll have you executed.
The Hatter drops teacup and bread and butter and goes down on one knee.
I'm a poor man, Your Majesty.
Well, if that's all you know about it, you may stand down.
I can't go no lower. I'm on the floor as it is.
Well, then you may sit down.
I'd rather finish my tea.
You may go.
The Hatter goes out hurriedly, leaving one of his shoes behind.
And just take his head off outside.
But the Hatter was out of sight before the officer could get to the door.
Call the next witness.
Next witness!
The Duchess enters with a paper pot, which she shakes about. Everybody begins to sneeze. March Hare rushes out.
Give your evidence.
Don't.
Your Majesty must cross-examine this witness.
Well, if I must, I must. What does your cook say tarts are made of?
Pepper.
The Duchess shakes the pot and the court sneezes. The Duchess shakes the pot at him.
Behead the dormouse. Turn the dormouse out of court. Suppress him. Pinch him off with his whiskers.
The whole court is in confusion, turning the dormouse out, and while it's settling down again, the Duchess disappears.
The Duchess!
She's gone. She's gone.
She vanished.
She's gone? Never mind. Really, my dear, you must cross-examine the next witness. It quite makes my forehead ache. Call the next witness.
Alice!
Oh, here.
What do you know about this business?
Nothing whatsoever.
Now, that is very important.
Unimportant, Your Majesty means, of course.
Unimportant, of course, I meant. Important, unimportant, unimportant, important. Consider your verdict.
Some of the jury write important, and some write unimportant.
There's more evidence to come yet. Please, Your Majesty, this paper has just been picked up.
What's in it?
The White Rabbit fumbles with a huge envelope.
I haven't opened it yet, but it seems to be a letter written by the prisoner to somebody.
Well, it must have been that, unless it was written to nobody, which isn't usual, you know.
Who is it directed to?
It isn't directed at all. In fact, there's nothing written on the outside.
Takes out a tiny piece of paper.
It isn't a letter at all. It's a set of verses.
Are they written in the prisoner's handwriting?
No, they're not. And that's the strangest thing about it.
He must have imitated somebody else's hand.
But please, Your Majesty, I didn't write it and they can't prove I did. There's no name signed at the end.
If you didn't sign it, that only makes the matter worse. You must have meant some mischief, or else you'd have signed your name like an honest man.
That proves his guilt.
It proves nothing of the sort. Why, you don't even know what they're about.
Well, read them.
Where shall I begin? Please, Your Majesty.
Begin at the beginning, and then go on to the end, and then stop.
They told me you had been to her and mentioned me to him. She gave me a good character, but said I could not swim. I gave her 1, they gave him 2, you gave us 3 or more. They all returned from him to you, though they were mine before. My notion was that you had been, before she had this fit, an obstacle that came between him and ourselves and it. Don't let him know she liked him best, for this must ever be a secret kept from all the rest, between yourself and me.
That is the most important piece of evidence we've heard yet. So, now let the jury...
If any one of them can explain it, I'll give him 6 pence. I don't believe there's an atom of meaning in it.
She doesn't believe there's an atom of meaning in it.
If there's no meaning in it, it'd save us a world of trouble, you know, as we needn't try to find any. And yet I don't know. I seem to see some meaning after all. Said I could not swim. You can't swim, can you?
Do I look like it?
All right, so far. We know it to be true. That's the jury, of course. I gave her one, they gave him two. Why, that must be what he did with the tarts, you know.
But it goes on saying they all returned from him to you.
The king triumphantly points to the tots.
Why, there they are. Nothing can be clearer than that. Then again, before she had this fit, you never had fits, my dear, did you?
Never.
Then the words don't fit you.
There is dead silence while the king looks around at the court with a smile.
It's a pun. Now then, let the jury consider the verdict.
No. Sentence first, verdict afterwards.
Stuffing nonsense.
Hold your tongue.
I won't.
Off with her head.
Who cares for you?
Cut it off.
You're nothing but a pack of cards.
The lights go out and all the characters hold their positions as if petrified. We see Alice still asleep in the armchair, the fire in the grate suffocating her with its glow.
Alice, wake up, Alice. It's time for tea.
Off with her
Oh,
head.
my fur and whiskers!
We're all
Consider the
mad here.
verdict.
Off
My
with
fur
her
and whiskers!
Achoo!
Who are you?
Why, it was all a dream.
Oh, was it? The end.